Whatever it is that is stopping you, it's stopping you from doing the thing. It's distracting you from doing the thing that ultimately will give you the power that not doing the thing pretends to give you. I'll say that again. Going through the emotion, through the frustration, through the anxiety of whatever it is that is keeping you from being your highest and truest self, it's lying to you and telling you that the power lies in not doing it. When the reality is, the power you seek happens when you do the thing. EmpowerYou podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners, fans, subscribers, and friends. We talk about a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, societal, and cultural perspective. We believe that in tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. So subscribe to our channel, rate, review, and let us empower you. What's up, friends? If you're anything like me, you realize that eating healthy meals supercharges your productivity and gives you a clear mind so that you can solve more problems at work or in your business. Smile More Meal Prep Service lets you choose from a variety of healthy food options that will fit your dietary needs while putting a smile on your face, so you can stop stressing about eating healthy throughout the week and buying lunches, because Smile More Meal Prep has got your back. And if you use the promo code EMPOWER, you'll receive 15% off your order. So click the link in the show notes, order your healthy, delicious meals, relax, and smile more. Welcome to EmpowerYou podcast. My name is Kibwe Cooper. I am so glad that you are here. Happy New Year. It is 2022 and I'm really excited. I'm really excited about what the new year has to hold, and I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. Today, it's just going to be me. I'm going to do a reflection over some things that I've experienced this year. And also, some things that I'm working on, right? Some tips that I hope will be very helpful for you as you're planning out your new year. There's a lot of, thoughts that we all have around the new year, right? There's this idea that there's a right and a wrong way to go into the new year. And while I don't think that's necessarily untrue, I do believe that everyone is running their own race, and that you really do have to run your own race. And if that looks different than someone else's race, if that looks different than what someone else is doing, if that involves starting whatever routines or initiatives before the new year or after the new year, I want you to feel empowered to take your own journey at your own pace with your own goals in mind. Don't feel like because everyone else is doing this or that, or a fast or a weight loss or a detox, or nothing's wrong with any of those things. But if that's not where you're at, if your goal for this year is different, maybe you haven't even quite decided what you want this year to mean for you, then this episode is going to be helpful for you. And I support you. We are all in this together, right? But we all individually have our own paths that we have to take. And so whatever is true for you, whatever is honest, whatever is challenging, whatever makes you scared a little bit, I support you in taking those steps. So let's get into it. I like to start everything, my prayers, my meditation, as soon as I wake up, before I go to bed. I like to give gratitude for all that has happened, gratitude that none of the challenges that we faced last year took us out. Gratitude that I didn't catch COVID-19 at all last year. Gratitude that my family is still intact, and that even though my sisters did get COVID and my brother did get COVID, they all had really, really mild cases, and it just kind of went right on through. Gratitude that my father is still doing well. Him and his wife have moved into a new home, and they're expanding, they're growing, they're reaching a new phase of their life. It's beautiful to see. Gratitude for all of the challenging things too. So in 2021, I experienced, a pretty significant breakup, which was very, very difficult for me. I also got an OWI, which was on the heels of the breakup. I also was and have been bootstrapping my business, which has been, if you're a business owner out there and you have had to pour your heart and soul into your business this year, and you weren't sure about it sometimes you're very, very nervous and a little anxious, to say the least. You know what I'm talking about then. Bootstrapping stuff is difficult, but it's necessary. I'm so grateful for the investments that I made. I made tremendous investments in myself. I probably paid more in 2021 on coaching, on my business, on mentorship, on books, on programs, in order to keep myself right where I need to be, in order to show up for you, in order to show up for me, in order to show up for my business and my clients. And it takes investment, right? You are your biggest ROI. And for those who don't know what ROI means, it means return on investment. And when you are your biggest ROI, you realize that no matter what situation you may find yourself in, it's up to you to make it worth it. And that's why, your meditation and your prayer and writing and journaling and doing all these things that might sound kind of woo-woo and weird, that's why those things are so important. Because when you're in the mix like that, when you're handling adversity, when you have difficult moments, when you have high intensity emotions, you need to be able to balance. You need to be able to properly process, and you need the tools to handle that influx in your body, your body's reaction to this new challenge, this new moment. Maybe it's an old moment, right? Maybe it's a triggering moment. You need the emotional, mental, spiritual tools to help you get through those moments. And that investment in your knowledge, in what you read and what you listen to and who you follow on social media, all of that makes a huge difference. I've lost some friends this year too. There's been people who I considered very, very, very close to me, who, are no longer wanting to be near me. There's all kinds of stuff, right? This is the year. This is a 12 months worth of life. And I just want to recap a little bit of it, because it's important that we reflect on what worked and what didn't work as we move forward into the next year, so that we can do so objectively, so we can have a real clear idea of what we're trying to accomplish, because we got 12 months to do it. And if you're like me, I'd break those 12 months into quarters, so 90 days. It's definitely something to consider doing if you have not done it already. It might take you an hour or two, maybe a little longer. Really just depends. But I think it's important that you get it out all in front of your face, and then start making adjustments. So again, gratitude for perseverance, gratitude for the willpower and the determination to get through some really difficult moments this year, to get through some moments that I thought were going to break me. Some moments I thought would be the last one. Some moments I thought would, really alter me in some way that I couldn't come back from. Grateful for vision. Anybody got a vision for their life? Anybody understand that everything they're going through right now is nothing compared to what they're going to be doing in the future? Anybody see that all of these ups and downs are just a big continuum of a grander picture of what your life will be or could be if you remain committed? That's me. I see things about myself, about other people sometimes. But I'm grateful for that, for vision. If you have a vision for yourself and you have the willpower, the perseverance, that's like a muscle, you grow perseverance, right? It doesn't just happen all of a sudden. It happens over time. And so perseverance is necessary, because if you have a vision, you're gonna have to persevere to reach the fruition of that vision. And sacrifice. Grateful for sacrifice. I haven't been able to do a lot of things this year. There have been many times I had to miss out on stuff this year. There have been many times where I felt like, your peers are all moving at different speeds than you, that to take us back to where I said, you got to run your own race. Everybody's running a different race. And sometimes social media can make you feel like you're behind, right? Social media can make you feel like, oh man, I'm not in a relationship. I'm not, having children. I'm not growing a family. I haven't bought a house yet. There's so many things that you have to sacrifice sometimes in order to complete the vision, right? That you have for your life, the vision you have for yourself, for your business, for your family, for your relationship, whatever that is, there will be sacrifice in it. And I have sacrificed a lot of comfort, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, and even some connections in pursuit of the vision that I have for myself. And that's all part of it. Sacrifices, they're just the cost of admission, right? If everybody could do it, everyone would do it. But most people are not willing to sacrifice the way that is necessary to reach certain heights. Does not mean that their life or their goals or their anything is any less than anyone else. It just means that there are levels. And for myself, I'm truly grateful to be where I am. And that is why I always start with gratitude. Because yes, we could feel some kind of way about the L's we took. Yes, we could feel some kind of way about the challenges, the adversity that we faced, the people who we feel like we let down, the people who hurt our feelings, because growth is messy. Okay? Let me tell you this. Growth is messy. It doesn't happen in a cute little mason jar like they show you on those little 30-second reels you see on the internet. Like, growth is messy. Things are breaking. Things are transforming. And in the process, things get hurt. You get hurt. Other people could get hurt. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel some kind of way. I'm just saying that it's gonna happen. My good friend August Crenshaw. Shout out to August. She was on the podcast. That's a really great episode you wanna listen to with August. She told me one time, we were in Atlanta, and with our business group, Client Attraction University. She told me, you have to free yourself from this idea that getting to where you're going is gonna look perfect. She said you have to let go of this idea that your growth has to look like other people want it to look. That your growth has to be spotless. That your growth has to be this immaculate image because that's just not how it works. You got to go through it. You got to be while becoming. And sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes you don't communicate well. Sometimes you barely communicate. Sometimes you over communicate. But the reality is you're becoming something new. And there are going to be moments in there where people are not happy with you. And it's okay. Some of those people are maybe not meant for the next season of your life. Some of those people got their own stuff going on. It's not even about them. It's about you. You know, it's about understanding where you're at. Don't allow the fact that your process isn't pretty to distract you from all the good that is coming out of your life, right? So, gratitude for the connections that I made. I started working with Client Attraction University and a slew of coaches, Coach C, Coach Mike, Coach D, Coach Jen, Lauren Wellman, who also has the This Too Shall Suck podcast, which is amazing. Just so many incredible connections. I mean, I probably couldn't list them all. So many. I've been so blessed to be around people who inspire me. That's a really different environment to be in, right? So I live in Fort Wayne. I live in the Midwest right now. And one of the things that I notice is that sometimes, and I think this is anywhere, right? But I'm just talking about in my immediate environment because people are people everywhere. But being inspired is a different type of feeling. It's an addictive feeling. It's a breath of fresh air. It's like stretching and feeling like the little pops that happen in your back or in your chest or in your shoulders when you get a real good stretch in, and how you feel so much more, free and less restricted, and you can take deeper, bigger, fuller breaths. That's what inspiration feels like. It fills your lungs and your mind with images of possibilities, and they come right out of your mouth in the way that you speak, in the way that you dream, in the way that you affirm yourself and others. It is this eruption of confidence, of determination, of vision, of willingness to persevere in order to reach this inspired vision, this inspired place. And I'm so grateful for all of that. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about the things you're super grateful for. And I want you to write them down. And don't just include the high points, right? It's like, oh, I got a new car, I'm gonna put that down. I got a new job, I got a raise, I'm gonna put that down. Absolutely put those things down. But when you got that ticket that you didn't want to pay and that you ended up paying, but then it has really caused you to really move a little bit more safe. Be a lot more mindful of the way you're operating out here in traffic. When you got into that argument that you really were upset about, but it caused you to think about your impact with other people. It caused you to think about how other people view you. It caused you to think about the ways in which your impact is received, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Write those things down too. You had that, big blowout with your brother or your sister or your family member that caused you all to have some dialogue you just never had before. Write that stuff down too. There are some incredible moments in the mix of some of our most challenging conversations and emotions, and you should be grateful for those as well. So do your gratitude as you're going into this year, okay? Just look at it. Take the time. Your life deserves a bit of analysis, figuring out what's working and what's not, what happened, what didn't, how it affected you. Your life is worth that. You should do that. Okay, so that's my first tip is to write down your gratitude. Next thing I want to talk about is vision. Yeah, vision's really important because we got to know where we're going. We got to know where we're going. And if we don't know where we're going, we're just going to be lost. And I'm not trying to be lost out here, just wasting my life. And I hope you're not either. So let's talk about vision. So what have you become? Over the last 12 months, what have you become? Right? A business owner, a better person, a more determined person, a kinder person, a person who's willing to love more, a person who's more open, a person who's more scared, a person who's more triggered, a person who's angrier, a person who is in a rush all the time, a person who is struggling or being really challenged by their anxiety, their depression. What have you become this year? I'm not asking you to judge yourself. That's not the point of the vision. It's just to see it, because your awareness will create new behaviors. Your awareness, your willingness to operate inside of that awareness will help you manifest the things that you truly desire in your life, whether it be just a better attitude or a better relationship or better friendships. You got to have vision for who you want to be and what you became, what you're becoming. So what did you become this year? Think about that. What did you become? This year, I became more determined. I became more aware. I became more ambitious. I became more mindful. I also became more triggered. I also became a lot more cynical in certain aspects. And these are good and bad, right? I mean, being more triggered, because life can be triggering. How you're responding to your triggers is different. How you're responding to the things that are happening are different. But if something makes you feel a certain way and you're starting to notice that things make you feel a certain way, I don't think that's a bad thing. We do have to learn to control our emotions and the way that we get through things, as to not hurt ourselves or other people whenever we can manage it. But the reality is, maybe you got more triggered. Maybe you're more sensitive than you were last year. Maybe you're more aware of how sensitive you are and the things you like and don't like and things that hurt your feelings and don't hurt your feelings. Maybe you realize this year that you need a lot more therapy than you thought you needed. Not a bad thing. You can look at it like a bad thing, like, oh, I'm so, messed up in the head. I'm having all these, or you can look at it as your body, God, the universe, telling you, these are areas that I want you to strengthen, because there's more in your life that will come from strengthening these areas. You can be such a bigger blessing and be so much more impactful to others when you strengthen these areas. You can unlock some layers in your own personality and your own potential if you address these areas. It's not a bad thing. It might be uncomfortable, right? You might have got into some arguments and you might have had some issues with some people because of stuff that you're struggling with. I'm not saying that didn't happen, and I'm not saying or invalidating the way it made you feel, the way it impacted you. But what I am saying is that it doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad thing just because it made you feel bad. Does that make sense? It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing just because it made you feel bad. So I want you to sit down and think about who you became last year, who you're becoming this year, and decide what you want to keep and what you want to throw away. There are gonna be aspects of your personality, of your being, that are not helpful for you to continue living and existing in. They're not helpful for you to continue practicing. And I'll use an example, right? And I hope, some people are gonna get offended by this, but I'm gonna use this example. Let's say you're a cigarette smoker. I think we can all agree smoking cigarettes is not the best for your health. But for you, this is just an example, but for you, smoking cigarettes may keep you in a state of zen, right? It might take an edge off of things so that you're not fussing at your kids, so that you're not screaming in traffic, so that you're not driving all fast, so that you're not, hyped up on whatever's bothering you. Maybe that's your way of calming yourself. Those are positive things. The way that you're doing it, I would say is probably not the healthiest way. It's not sustainable to just keep smoking cigarettes. I think it's going to cause you some huge problems down the line eventually. But there are positive aspects to what you are, what the benefits you get from smoking cigarettes. And I say that as an example. You may be in an emotional state. You may be in a physical, spiritual, mental state that on the one hand is helping you get through your life. It's helping you deal with challenges, but it's not sustainable long term. And over time, this could really cause a lot of damage in your life, and also in the lives of the people who you care about. So while you're thinking about who you're becoming, understand you need to include that. It's like, I am a person who needs help managing certain emotions. And right now, I'm smoking cigarettes to make this happen. I'm drinking a lot of wine to make this happen. I am dating a lot of people to make this happen. I am, experimenting with drugs to make that happen. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying these things out loud because I want you to understand that what you're experiencing doesn't necessarily mean you're a terrible person. That's not, you're coping through life. Some of us are working too much. Well, it's pandemic out here. I got to make this money. Yeah, but you're working to avoid and to help you manage something else. And the thing that you're trying to manage may be what ultimately gives you the most benefit in your life, more than, the job, more than the cigarettes, more than the dating, more than the drinking, more than the whatever. And so I want you to think about that. Like, who am I becoming? I'm trying to cope with certain emotions. I am coping with certain emotions. My family is benefiting from me doing specific things that are somewhat harmful to myself. And I understand why I'm doing them. But as I'm becoming a thing, I want to find a better way to execute my highest purpose without the need of cigarettes, without the need of drinking a lot of wine, without the need of overworking, without the need of being a perfectionist. There are psychological things that may be happening that you deserve to be freed from. You deserve to clear out. You deserve to overcome. And so don't stop yourself from looking at them objectively as you're becoming this new thing this year. This is a continuum, right? There's no home run. This is stealing base after base after base. This is a continuum. And so as you continue to move forward, start assessing, start evaluating these things. This is an invitation. I hope you're not perceiving this as a accusation or an attack on your personality. This is a brand new year, and I think it's important that we think this way, that we look at ourselves holistically, right? The entire being, the entire I amness that you possess. You deserve that. You deserve it. Your family deserves it. You deserve it. Okay? Next thing I want to talk about is the process. So we already have gratitude. We got to be grateful. We got to establish a vision for who we're becoming and who we want to become, what it's going to take and who we need to know. And the next is the process. The process of self-development, the process of commitment, the process of saying no, the process of going deeper. This podcast is really good at talking about the process, because that's where the truth is. That's where the potential is, in the process, is in this small liminal space of transition, of high intensity, of acute sacrifice and pain at some moments. Thanks for listening to Empower You podcast. I want to take a second and tell you about a service I've been using that has literally changed my life. Akita Ricks, the founder of SoarYourScore.com, helped me erase negative items on my credit score, provided me a clear path to improving my credit, and raised my score by 100 points in the first 90 days. Like, whoa. The best part about all of this is all I had to do was follow instructions. Now, if you're like me and you need a credit bestie, you need to click the link below and schedule your absolutely free discovery call today. Tell them Kibwe sent you. That's the process, that stretching, that uncomfortable, tight feeling in your chest and throat that happens when you feel overwhelmed, when you are consumed with the what if of a situation. That's the process. When you say no, or you say yes to something that totally terrifies you. That's the process. And that's what we're going to talk about next. The process of self-development. And when I say self-development, I don't mean you go and read all the books. I absolutely support reading a lot of books. My goal this year is to read 50 books. Last year I read about 20. This year I want to read 50 books. You don't have to read 50 books. Your goal could be 5. Your goal could be 6. Whatever that is. I do advocate for reading books, but more than that, I advocate that you commit to your self-development. You commit to those small, uncomfortable spaces. You commit to looking at yourself objectively. You commit to being honest and vulnerable about where you are. You commit to standing alone at times because you deserve to be heard. You commit to saying no to people because what they want is not what you need, and that's okay. And I'm gonna say that again. You have to commit to saying no to people because sometimes, and many times, what someone else wants from you is not what you need. And you're not wrong for telling them no. You're not wrong for not wanting that. You're not wrong for articulating that this is not good for me. Whether it's at your job or in your relationship or with your family. If something is not good for you, you're not wrong for that. People can get all upset and feel all kinds of hurt about it. But the reality is, you're not wrong for not wanting something. And so you got to commit to whatever situations that puts you in. People will get mad. You may have to leave your job. You know, the relationship you're in may take a weird turn. You know, you may have to have some hard conversations with your family or your friends. But you got to commit to that uncomfortableness. You got to commit to that sacrifice. Those edges where you feel very anxious, where you feel very stretched, where you feel very afraid sometimes. That's the process of self-development. That is the commitment to developing self, to overcoming self, to becoming something new. Saying no is so important. I didn't say no as much as I needed to in 2021. I just didn't. But you better believe I'm going to say a lot of no's in 2022. Because what I'm learning about how you view and internalize yourself is that subconsciously, your word to other people is very, very important. Your word to yourself, very, very important. Your ability to be true to your word, your ability to honor your own desires, your ability to build confidence within yourself that you're going to do what you say is critical. If you're the type of person who says yes to things and then no to things and then yes to things and then no to things and then yes to things and then no to things, you're causing a lot of confusion within yourself, because subconsciously you never know whether to believe yourself. You never know whether to really trust yourself, because you keep providing yourself examples where you weren't true to what you said you were going to be true to. You weren't true to your word. You weren't true to this initiative you had. It's like me saying that I want to read 50 books this year, but I don't even make a list. I just decide at some point I'm going to just somehow get to 50 books. No, I'm going to make a plan for what I want to read over the areas in my life that I want to improve, and I'm going to start executing those. And every single time I complete a book, every single time I turn a page, every single time I cue it up on my Audible, I'm teaching myself that I do what I say I'm going to do. Same commitments work, and the same thing applies in other commitments as well, whether it's with your relationships or your family or at your job. This is part of your process of building your own confidence within your own word. I did not say no enough last year. I just didn't. I had some situations at my job where I said yes to too many things. And as a result, nobody got what they really wanted, because I said yes when I should not have. I've had results in my personal life where I said yes to things, to feelings, to being okay with certain things, with accepting things that I should not have accepted. Not because I was, trying to pull a fast one, but because I should have just said no. Should have just said no. So I'm giving you permission, as you're listening to this, as you're watching this, to say no to folks. Say no. Exist in that fringe, on that edge, where emotionally, mentally, you're being stretched. Spiritually, your faith is being challenged. Exist in that process, because you're already in it. You may be coping in various ways, but you're already in the process of something. It's just either building a stronger identity for you, or it's creating a weaker, less confident, less engaging, less impactful identity. All right? So the process really comes down to your commitment level, because you're going to encounter a lot of things on the process, and you have to be committed to that uncomfortable space, those small, dark corners, those uncomfortable feelings, that stretching, that fear, that pain, that anxiety. You have to be committed to getting through those moments. Right? That's self-development. That's the process. And I encourage you this year to commit to your process. It might look ugly. I'm gonna tell you that now. Ain't nobody gonna celebrate you for it. But you gotta commit to that, because the sacrifice is not as great as the reward. And even on smaller scales, I can see the rewards of my sacrifices. I can see the benefits of the things that I've been through this year. I can see it. And I also see the processes that I have to continue to go through. And they're uncomfortable, and they're frustrating, and they cause me to feel dumb sometimes, and they cause me to pray and read and ask for people's opinions sometimes when I don't want to. And it's a process, but you got to commit to that uncomfortable feeling. You have to commit to that uncomfortable lifestyle, right? Because that's ultimately what you're creating. You're creating a lifestyle for yourself where being comfortable is not the priority, where being impactful is. right? Where exercising your true identity is, right? It's not about being comfortable, making other people happy. It's about doing what you're designed to do truly and sacrificing in order to make that thing real. It's not real until it hurts. Because we can all fake it when things are going good. But when it's hurting and you stay committed, that's when it's real. My own personal opinion. You take that however you want. But moving forward, we covered the three main aspects of deciding what your year is going to be, of planning out your year. And that is gratitude, vision, process. And when you can do these three things, you write this stuff down, it's going to help you a lot. It's going to help you a lot. It's going to give you a lot of clarity about who it is that you're wanting to be and how you're wanting to be. Next thing I want to do in this podcast is talk to you about moving forward, right? And let's talk about what that looks like. Moving forward, take what you know and where you want to be and do research. All right? Moving forward into 2022, take what you know, where you want to be, and do research. Look it up. Take time to look it up and figure out what's the best move for you. What's the best plan for you, right? What makes the most sense for your life? And here are some ways that I have broken things down for myself, and I'll share them with you, and I hope they help. When I think about what I know and where I want to be, and when I'm doing the research, here's the things that I'm thinking about. It's my own personal exercise. Feel free to use it. I think about who has done it already. I have all these big aspirations and goals. Is there someone who has done this already? Right? And if so, what books did they write? What's their social media? What programs do they have? Next, who inspires them? What books are they reading? Right? These are great places to start, because you want to start to embody the mindset so that you can overcome the process. Because the process of committing to the small, scary spaces, it exists in your mind and in your spirit, right? Once you start to mobilize your mental space to encourage you, to help you prioritize, to help you evaluate the emotions and the things you're encountering, you're going to find that there are keys, there are life hacks, there are mentalities that really help you leapfrog over a lot of difficult spaces, right? The quickest way to get to any point is to have somebody show you. And there's two ways to learn. One is learning from others, and two is learning on your own. I am committed to learning from others because there are things I'm going to learn on my own anyway. But what I can learn from other people, so I don't have to spend the 6, 7, 8 years it took mastering whatever, I'm going to do that. Because mastering Kibwe is my lifelong pursuit. That's going to come with incredible challenge. If I can find somebody who's already done some emotional work, who's already written a book about men and their emotions, who's already written a book about whatever it is, I'm going to read the book. I'm not going to just wallow in my own mental stuff and think I'm going to come up with a better answer, because it's just not going to happen. Okay? So who's done it and who inspires them? Those are two different things you want to be mindful of. And you want to pick some books from the people who've done it already, and some books that those people who have already done it recommend. Some things that really help them. What skills will it take? What skills is it going to take for you to reach the next level of your life? Think about this. What skills? It might not be posting on social media. You may need to learn an entirely different skill. You may need to learn how to do public speaking. You may need to learn how to podcast. You may need to learn how to sew. You may need to learn how to, I don't know, be a better cook, or have better nutrition, or have better meditation, or be a better accountant. Like, there may be skill sets you need to learn in order to reach the next level of your life. And taking stock in those things is very, very important. So, what skills will it take to get me there? Right? And the third thing is, what books do I need to be reading? And you guys probably probably anticipated this was coming up, but I'm telling y'all, reading books has really, really helped me a lot. Reading books, listening to books, I don't really care. Just get them inside your body. Get them inside your head. Get them inside your spirit, because it's important. People have spent 20, 30 years of their life doing something, and they write a book about it so that other people don't have to spend the same time figuring it out. Why would you not read it? What sense does that make? Like, I want to read as many books as possible, because I understand that there are so many incredible mindsets, tips, strategies on how to become who you need to be, right? But here's the biggest hack of it all. If you master the art of learning and implementing, you'll be unstoppable. But implementing involves the process, involves that commitment to the uncomfortable space. That's why we talked about process first, because your commitment is going to make you and other people uncomfortable. Your commitment is going to cause rifts with other people, within yourself. Your commitment is going to make other people nervous for you. And when you're committed to executing the principles, the strategies, the techniques that you learn from the people who have done what you're trying to do, from the people who inspired your idols, I say idols, that sounds terrible. The people who you look up to, right? The people, the thinkers, the leaders, the experts who inspire the people you aspire to be. When you implement, when you're committed to the process of developing that self, you'll be unstoppable. That's why it's important to read. Read, do your research. However that looks for you, do it. Okay? Do it. Implementing is part of the process. That is the process. Through the process of implementing, you will have to do self-development. You will have to be committed. You will have to say no. I'll say that again. During the process of implementing, you will have to do self-development. You will have to say no to things. Okay? You'll have to be okay with doing things ugly. And that's just how it is. So, those are my three, I don't know, where are we at now? Those are the 3 ways that I'm evaluating this year, with gratitude, vision, process. And then moving forward, how to take all that information and start really implementing it, is to think about where you want to be, what you know, and where ultimately your goal is for the rest of this year. All right. What do I know now about this goal? What is the goal? Who's already accomplished the goal? The people who have already accomplished the goal, what books and what people are inspiring them? And then what skills do they have that I don't have right now? And then lastly, what are these books? Who are these people? Who wrote the roadmap to get me to this point? Because I need to read that. I need to study that, and I need to implement the strategies in that. I may need to get into some programs. I may need to get a therapist. I may need to get a spiritual advisor. I may need to go back to church. I may need to go to relationship therapy. I may need to get a personal trainer. I may need to get a financial advisor because I need to implement this stuff. I need to be reading these books. I need to be following the footsteps of the people who actually did it already. Okay? So I hope you guys are writing this down. Feel free to rewind this and listen to it as many times as you want. Share it with people. But this is my plan for 2022. And this is what I'm sharing with you because this is what has been helping me in 2021. Even though there's a lot of ugly stuff, I still managed to do some really amazing things in my life. And I'm just incredibly, incredibly grateful. And I'm so thankful to you for hanging out with EmpowerYou podcast, for sharing it with other people, for listening hours and hours. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you so much. And I truly desire to continue to build the EmpowerYou podcast into just a huge source of not only education, but inspiration and of stories of perseverance. And I appreciate you for being a part of that. Okay? I really, really do. Oh, man. Okay. So, last part. I want to talk about some of my favorite quotes from this year. So, one of my favorite quotes, and I think about this probably every single week, is do the thing. Do the thing and you will have the power. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I think that's so simple and yet it's so powerful. This is what I mean by the commitment to the process, right? It's good. You have to do the thing. You have to exist in that small, frustrating, painful space. You have to do the thing and you will have the power. Get through the anxiety and you will have the power. Learn to communicate better and you will have the power. Master your finances and you will have the power. Learn to be vulnerable and you will have the power. Learn to say no and you will have the power. Because whatever it is that is stopping you, it's stopping you from doing the thing. It's distracting you from doing the thing that ultimately will give you the power that not doing the thing pretends to give you. I'll say that again. Going through the emotion, through the frustration, through the anxiety of whatever it is that is keeping you from being your highest and truest self, it's lying to you and telling you that the power lies in not doing it. When the reality is, the power you seek happens when you do the thing. That may be learning new skill sets, right? That may be reading more books. That may be speaking to somebody who you don't want to speak with. This is the truth. This is the reality. You have to do the thing and you will have the power. Another really great quote is this one. It says, "Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. There is a natural progression to everything in life. Plant, cultivate, harvest." There are so many amazing spots in that are just awesome. But the thing that I find really, really encouraging is there's a natural progression to everything in life. Plant, cultivate, harvest. Anything that you do, plant, cultivate, harvest. So let's take a step back, right? We got this whole year plan. We're learning new skills. We've decided what skills we need to learn. Maybe we'll pick 3 skills, right? You decided what 3 skills you needed to learn. You know, you've gotten your list together of books or of people who, you know, have done what you want to do. Like, you've done that work, right? Just start planting the seeds, because the seeds will disrupt what's happening in your life right now. It's going to disrupt your status quo. It's going to disrupt what you view as normal. It's going to disrupt what you view as okay. It's going to disrupt what other people think of you, how everybody thinks about you, maybe what's going on your job. Those seeds are going to disrupt it. And then the next step is cultivating it, staying committed to that development process, staying committed to those painful spaces, staying committed to that journey, even though you haven't quite seen the results yet, even though you haven't seen the big breakthrough yet, even though you haven't seen, whatever they were talking about on Instagram or on the internet happen for you yet, right? You haven't seen it yet. But you planted the seeds. You've been changing things. You've been saying no. You've been reading books. You've been modifying your behaviors. You've been studying people who have done it already, studying the great thinkers in that industry or in that space. You've committed yourself to a process of being uncomfortable and finding joy in the power of doing the thing. Those are seeds. When you plant those seeds, they will disrupt everything else. Seeds could also become awareness. Your awareness, where mentally you reside on a daily basis. That's super important. Okay? So plant. This year might be your plant year. Next year might be your plant year too. Last year was a plant year for me. I planted a lot. This year, I'm gonna plant some more, and I'm gonna cultivate what I already planted. And who knows, I may have some incredible harvests this year as well. Who knows? You might too. You might too. So don't think that there's this huge, grandiose, I can never get there, this is gonna be so difficult. 3 phases: plant, cultivate, harvest, period, point blank. That's it. Anything in life, that's how it's gonna work. If you want to be in shape, you have to plant some seeds of getting up early. You have to plant some seeds of maybe going to bed early. You have to plant some seeds of eating better. Plant some seeds of of a habit that takes you to the gym. Plant some seeds of taking your vitamins. Plant some seeds of drinking more water. These are going to be conscious efforts that your awareness continues to bring up. These are seeds. These are seeds. You got to plant those seeds. You got to execute. You have to implement. Remember? Implement. That's what gets the seeds in the ground. Because you can learn all the stuff, right? But if you don't implement, you're not putting them in the ground. They got to get in the ground. They got to get in your spirit. They got to disrupt things. Otherwise, it's not real. Right? Right? That makes sense? And then you got to cultivate. You got to stay there in that tight, uncomfortable space. People don't like you. People talk about you. This hasn't worked out yet. My bank accounts are going low. I got negative balances. I'm frustrated, but I'm committed. I don't know what's happening next, but I'm committed. That's cultivating. That's cultivating. Staying in that tight space. That's cultivating. Okay? And then harvest. You start to see the gains from the gym, right? You're starting to see those numbers on the scale coming down. Maybe the numbers aren't coming down, but you're noticing your body feels different. Your clothes fit different. You feel better about yourself. You can breathe better. You have more energy. Don't worry about the numbers. You're becoming this healthier person, and you can feel it. That's harvest. You're starting to get more enrollments. You're starting to get more clients. People are starting to communicate with you better. You're finding that new relationship. You found a really great therapist. You're starting to see the results of all this journaling. That's harvest. You're clearer. You're happier. You're less depressed. You feel like you're coping less. Right? You're not just coping. You're living. Those are harvests. And it comes from those dark spaces. That cultivation phase where everything is icky and uncomfortable and frustrating and people are mad and that harvest comes from those spaces. So while you may be sad or frustrated, understand that this is a continuum. That's not the last chapter of the book. That ain't the last sentence. That ain't the last page. Life goes on. So you got to keep cultivating so that you can reach your harvest. And for some of us, who knows when that harvest will be? You know, we think, oh, well, it's going to take forever. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. Maybe you'll become the best person ever cultivating these seeds. By the time the actual harvest gets there, you barely notice that you dropped the weight. You barely notice that, you know, all these other things are happening because you've just been in such a great space in your awareness. I ain't even thought about it. Because you're focused on being, on doing the thing and having the power. You're focused on plant, cultivate, harvest. You're focused on doing the things that successful people do that unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. And you can even change aren't willing to don't have the awareness to do. They're unwilling to listen to the whole podcast to figure out what I'm talking about. Point is, there's only 3 stages: plant, cultivate, harvest. Wherever you are on that journey, understand what you're planting, what you're cultivating, and what you're trying to harvest. Because you're going to go through this process regardless. You'll either be mindful of it or not mindful of it. You're practicing these universal laws every single moment of every single day, all the time. You just may not be in control of them. And so I encourage you this year to think through these things, to be mindful of these things, to take yourself into a space of love, of worthiness. You are worthy of disrupting your mediocre or non-satisfactual life course. You're worthy. I don't care who it inconveniences. You're worthy of that. If it may inconvenience somebody who you care about, you need to have a conversation with them. This is who I am, who I'm trying to be, and it's going to take some sacrifice on my end, which means I'm not going to be as available for you in this particular way. That's a conversation. And we got to start having those things. We got to start saying no. I got to start saying no. I'm not telling y'all anything I don't practice myself. I'm not telling y'all anything that I'm not actively doing myself. There are things that I am not great at, but I'm aware of them. And I'm working to get better at them. I'm working to perfect those aspects of my life that I feel like don't represent me the way I want them to. Don't represent God the way I want them to. And I'll leave you with this, and then we'll get out of here. I don't know if you go to therapy or what you believe in. Maybe it's God, maybe it's the creator, universe, the source, divine design, whatever it is. You need to tap in with that. You need to spend more time praying and meditating. Maybe that looks like yoga and hikes and you know, sitting in your rocking chair or taking long walks. Or you gotta take some time to go inside. You gotta take some time to go inside. That's my biggest takeaway. You gotta take time to go inside. You have to really build out a practice for your spiritual well-being, because that is where so many things originate from. And if you're not daily in touch with yourself, evaluating your feelings, setting the tone for your thoughts and emotions, you're going to be tossed all over the place constantly. And social media really, really does not help with this, because the very nature of social media is just like one high point after another, high point after another, or an extreme low. Like it's just extreme highs and lows. And so when you're scrolling through and you're constantly getting these extreme highs and lows, you internalize that. You're either extremely high or you're extremely low. You're either extremely mad or you're extremely happy. And you don't balance them. You just attack in any one of those emotions. And when you're not in control, you know, this is important. this affects everything else. It affects the seeds that you sow. It affects your ability to be committed to your process. It affects your self-development. It affects the vision that you have for yourself. So I really encourage you to find a way, a practice that encourages you to look inward, to pray, to meditate, to visualize, to be still. That's where there's so much strength. And so I really encourage you to redefine what your spirituality looks like. I'm not here to tell you one way or another, but I think it's important for you to figure out where you're at on that spectrum, because the more you develop who you are, the true self, the more you realize that we are in the mix of a lot of different energies, thoughts, emotions that can attack us at times and make you feel like things that aren't true are true, and things that are true aren't true, that make you feel like you are the mind and not the observer of the mind. Because from there, you can establish anything. You can do anything. Right? All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for being here and for listening to Empower You podcast and for sharing it. And I want you to do me a favor. And I want you to tell me what areas that you really feel like you're committed to, right? Maybe it's your personal development, maybe it's your business development, maybe it's your spirituality, maybe it's your study, your research of your books, from gratitude, vision, process, and moving forward. Like what are your main takeaways from this episode? I would love for you to write them in the comments. I'm going to go through them and read them, and I would love to start bringing people up, right? I would love for you guys to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and connect with me. Say something. Tell me what you liked about this episode. Tell me what was challenging, what you maybe didn't or did agree with, because I'd love to start engaging with you all even more. Maybe have some of you guys come up onto the podcast and we can talk about your own reflections. We can talk about your own journey, your own process. I would love to connect with you more. So again, leave a comment. Tell me your takeaways from this episode. Leave a review, leave a rating, wherever you're seeing this at. Do that for me, and let's start that dialogue. We need this, right? 2022 is going to be an amazing year, and we're about to knock it out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, again, my name is Kibwe Cooper. I'm so grateful to be here. This is Empower You podcast, and I cannot wait to see you all again in another episode. Happy New Year. God bless y'all. I'll talk to y'all super soon. Peace. Thanks for listening to Empower You podcast. Don't forget to rate and review this episode, because we would love to hear your takeaways from this discussion. And it helps us reach more listeners just like you. If you'd like daily audio video clips from the podcast, you can find Empower You podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.